We're going to continue with chapter 6.4. This time we're going to convert decimal into percent and then percent into decimal. And really all this entails is moving the decimal 2 spaces. Yeah, all we're going to be doing is moving the decimal 2 spaces. You just have to know which direction to move it. What I like to do is draw a line going halfway between the page, between the sides, left and right. Just divide this in half. You don't have to go down all the way, though. You may want to use a bottom part for something else. Now, to help us remember, what we're going to do is we're going to write some of the alphabet up here. We're going to do it twice, on this side and on this side. And let me just show you how we'll do that. And I'll leave it up here for you to write down. Let's just put A, B, C, D, dot, dot, dot. Then L, M, N, O, P, dot, 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 and then Z. Okay, the 3 dots just represent that it keeps going on. And I don't know why I put 4 here, but it should just be 3. So we'll just put this in, and then put the same thing in on the other side. Okay, on the other side, do the same. Now the D here, that's going to represent, we'll put a square on that. That's going to represent our decimal. And the P, that's going to represent percent. So this way you can kind of keep this in mind, the alphabet. D comes before P. And the thing is, if we want to go from a decimal to a percent, we move the decimal this direction 2 spaces. I'll write that right up here, 2 spaces. From decimal to percent, move the decimal 2 spaces, going to the right. Okay, now let's do 4 examples where we have a decimal number and we want to change it to a percent. From decimal to percent. So let's kind of zoom in there a little bit. So to do that, we would just go ahead and move the decimal from decimal to percent. We move it over 2 spaces. So this would go over here. So your answer is 4%. Because it's just move this over 2 spaces, it's just a 4. You could say 0.4, but that doesn't make much sense. On the next one, move the decimal over 2 spaces. It's now 127%. See that? If I move it over 2 spaces. The next one, 3.325. Simply move it over 2 spaces. 1, 2, 32.5%. The next one, 0.0002. If I move it over 2 spaces, it's now 0.02%. Because see, I'm moving over 2 spaces. Everything I move over 2 spaces to the right. Just like D to P. To go from decimal to percent, you have to move it to the right. So think of the order of the alphabet. Think of the order of the alphabet from decimal to percent. Now let's move over to the other side. And again, let's put a box around D and the letter P. And the D is for decimal, and the P is for percent. So to go from percent to decimal, I need to go this direction. Move the decimal 2 spaces. Right? From here to there. Going to the left. 2 spaces. That's going from percent to decimal. So let's take a number like 5.1%. And we want to change that to a decimal. So to go from percent to decimal, I move it the decimal 2 spaces this way. So I move it 2 spaces. Now if I do that, I'm going to have to put a 0 in there. So it's 0.051, right? Because I'm moving over 2 spaces. So I'm going to have to put a 0 right there. 0.051. It's from percent to decimal. Percent to decimal, move the decimal 2 spaces going to the left. Going to the left. Next is 6%. Change 6% into a decimal. Okay, I'm going to have to move the decimal for percent to move it this direction, to the left. Well, here's the decimal right there. In case you don't know, it's always to the right of a number. So I need to move it over 2 spaces. If I do that, I'm going to have to plug a 0 in there. So it's 0.06. So hopefully looking at the alphabet will help you memorize which direction to move the decimal. You know you have to move it 2 spaces, but which way? And hopefully this will help you out.